Hey guys, Mrs. Phillipson here. You're going to be doing introductions today while I'm gone. So you're going to need your important person essay plan packet. Looks like this. Remember this bad boy, right? You're going to turn the page to where it says first draft writing, introduction paragraph options, and you're going to read along with me. When I was a little girl, I loved to get down the light green photo album and look at the black and white pictures of my very early years as a baby and toddler. These were pictures of my dad and sister and me, but interestingly, my mother was absent in most of the shots, and this is because she was the one capturing the moments. She was the photographer. She is the one who has been there with me and still loves me all the same. I love my mom very much, and she is an important part of my life. So this is an anecdote, right? It tells a story. Remember that roots word? A true story, right? Now you could make an introduction that is an anecdote. Make sure it's not a story you're already telling in your paper, okay? But you could start your essay off with an anecdote about your important person. Now I do want you to highlight the thesis with me, okay? This is my thesis, the part that's underlined. These are actually about Mrs. Rain's mom. She wrote her paper about her mom. So this is the thesis. Make sure you've highlighted and labeled as well. Now I want you to notice something. It says in here something about her being important. If there's nothing in your thesis about the person you've chosen being important in some way, impacted me so much, played a big role in my life, is important to me, make sure you add that because this is an important person essay. A lot of you have great thesis statements that talk about the person's traits. Just add something about how important they are to you and you'll be ready to go. Let's read another one, the example. A mom is a person who gives birth to children, who tenderly cares for and nurtures little ones, who makes endless meals, who washes countless dishes. She is the person who scrubs dirty children, who tends knee and elbow scrapes, who says the Mother's Day drawing is beautiful even though the shapes are unrecognizable. She is the one who would rather let all the hurts of the world enter her heart instead of falling upon her precious child. My mom, Marilyn Faye Ward, is that person to me. So first off, let's talk about example. In this case, it's explaining an example mom, right? So it goes over what a mom is. Down here we have our thesis. And I know it doesn't say important in here, but this whole paragraph, this whole introduction was about all the important things moms do, right? So if you were going to write an example, you could write an example of what a sister is, or a brother, or a dad, or a grandparent, or whoever your important person is. You could write like that, and then end it with your thesis statement. And if it doesn't show how important that person is, you'd have to add that, just like up here, to your thesis statement, right? Your next choice is a startling fact. I would not sell my mom for less than $1 million. She has such hidden wonderful talents, like beating all the kids on the street at tetherball time after time and then rubbing it in, making delicious El Paso enchiladas, yipping and yelling at the neighborhood dogs like they understand her, and finding bargains at affordable stores. She is priceless, actually, which is why my mom is one of the most influential people in my life. And here we have influential people in my life, right? Or I should say most influential people. So here's where we say she's important, which is really important for your thesis on an important person essay, huh? We have a startling fact here. So telling us something surprising, telling the reader something surprising. Remember, you can always rewind and rewatch part of this if you missed something I said. So startling fact, here's the startling fact that you wouldn't sell your mom for less than $1 million. Now, hopefully none of us would, but it's kind of an interesting thing to say there, right? It catches our attention. It's acting kind of like a hook here, huh? Just like our anecdote and our example did. I'm going to highlight my thesis statement here so I remember that's what it is. So you have a whole bunch of example thesis statements to help you out, right? It's okay to go back and revise yours as long as it ends up where? At the end of our introduction, right? So if you need to draw that at the top of your paper to remember too, broad to specific thesis. Remember that? Okay, so your thesis is the very last thing, just like we're seeing in all of Mrs. Rain's introductions. You could choose to take an unusual position. What if we got up hours before the rest of the family, made 3 meals and a few snacks in between, cleaned the dishes, cleaned the floors, cleaned the car, cleaned the dog, and cleaned dirty noses, taxied children all around town, bought all the groceries, helped with homework, helped with baths, helped with brushing teeth and tucking into bed? We would be exhausted and grumpy moms. I know that I did not appreciate my mom enough, but I know that I certainly do love her. My mom is a fantastic role model and person. So here, our unusual position is speaking like hypothetically, right? Talking about what if it was us. You will notice there is first person here. That's okay in this case. You're writing a very personal kind of paper, so it's okay to have first person in this paper. Make sure you highlight that thesis statement. Make sure when you write yours, it ends up there at the end, right? All right, just a couple more, guys. Another option to start your paper off would be to use a quotation. Make sure you don't just Google quotation because you will need to cite it, right? So make sure you're using a reliable source, but here's a great example. Mildred B. Vermont once wrote that being a full-time mother is one of the highest salaried jobs in my field, since the payment is pure love. All the love that I could possibly give would never be enough to pay for the work my mom did as I was growing up. My mom is definitely a very important person in my life. I love these thesis statements that talk about the important part, right? That's key in this paper if it's an important person paper, huh? And notice, so the first sentence puts the quote in a sentence and gives credit to the person who said it. The second sentence in this introduction explains how it connects, and then the third sentence is the thesis. So this can be a really interesting one. It can also be a little tough, so keep that in mind. Our next example introduction is about background information, and this can be a really interesting thing to write because a lot of that background information won't show up in your paper because we're mostly analyzing your person, right? So here's one way you could talk a little bit about their history. Veralyn Faye Cochran was born in Butte, Montana, and grew up a tenacious little girl who often had to take care of herself since her mother was busy working the farm. She evolved much like a wildflower and was blessed to meet John Carroll Ward Jr. at a young age. She married this kind man and birthed, loved, and raised 3 daughters. I am the eldest of these daughters and know my mom, Veralyn Faye Ward, is an amazing person. Right? So this is all about Mrs. Rain's mom's background, where she comes from, who she married. It still ends with her thesis that talks about how important she is, right? An amazing person. And this could be a really great way to start your paper if you're not sure what to do. You might have to ask your important person some questions, and that is A-okay. Be sure to run back and check if there's anything here you didn't understand, because you're going to be writing an introduction just like this next. So if you feel ready, turn the page. If you need to go back, rewind, please do. Here are my instructions. Write your introduction paragraph, underline your thesis. I think I can handle that. So I will say I have pre-written this so that I'm saving you some time on the video, but know that I didn't get it exactly the way I wanted it the first time, and it's okay if you have to change things as you go, okay? That's totally fine for novice writers, for grown-up writers, for all writers. That's how writing works, okay? So, this is my example. Make sure you write yours on your page, okay? Mine's going to be a little bit surprising. Oh, my puppy dogs are all excited. Have you ever known someone who truly made you feel like the most important person in the world? When I was little, I need a comma because I have my subordinating conjunction as subject and a verb. When I was little, my dad traveled all the time because he was constantly on the road for work. My big brother filled in often. Bubby, that's what I call my big brother sometimes, guys, taught me to throw a ball and how to tie my shoes. He braided my hair for me. Oh, my hair for school in the morning, I meant. I like that better. And recorded my favorite song from the radio. Because I'm old, guys, remember? So that's a thing we used to do, record songs from the radio. My older brother, Gary, played a huge role in molding me into the adult I am today. And now it said I had to underline my thesis. I'm going to get a different color so it's super obvious, and I'm going to underline it. If you need to borrow colors, there's some in the back of the room. You can borrow those. Just make sure you put them back. I'm making it red. I should probably make it yellow, shouldn't I? Because that's the color we've been using here. I'll highlight it yellow too. I'm going to go crazy. It's going to be real colorful, guys. There we go. Okay. But I just have to underline it somehow. Make it real clear. I know my thesis is in the right place. So I also need to go to the bottom here. Oh, there. See, I'm glad I fixed it. Highlight the thesis in gold. Borrow markers from the back if you need to. Which introduction, option, or combinations of options did you choose? So if I look back, I went with something that was a little bit startling, right? I said something about my brother there. About like, have you ever known someone who truly made you feel like the most important person in the world? That's pretty startling, I would say. And I wrote mine as a question, which is fine. Okay? Now, once you've done all of that, you can turn it in. It is due before you go, and it's only taken you 13 minutes to watch this video, so you've got lots of class time left. Go write a wonderful introduction for me, use those examples, highlight your thesis, and I can't wait to see what you've written, guys. Make sure you turn it in before you go. Have a good day.